to Ancestral Legacies, Nourishing ʻāina communities in Haumāna through the Wahi Kupuna Internship program. My name is Luana Pu'u, and I'll be your facilitator for this session. April Atisa Noi is here also. She is our moderator, and she'll be monitoring the chat for any questions you might have. As I said, mahalo for joining us. Mahalo also for your grace and understanding should we have any technical issues. But we gon holo mua no matter what happens. So just also know that this session will be recorded for future viewing. We are asking everyone to mute their microphone to avoid background noise and feedback. Please feel free to use the meeting chat, which is the speech bubble icon. If you have any questions or comments, please don't share your screen and please don't stop the recording. If you happen to get logged off, feel free to log right back in. And I'm just gonna take a couple minutes to introduce our presenters today. We have 3 presenters sharing this presentation. Kelly Lehua Keo Puna Ueoka traces her mo'oku auhau to the ʻāina of Puna and Kohala, Hawaii, and Kipahulu and Haneo o Maui. She was born and raised in Kailua, Oahu, and now lives in Hakalau, Hilo Paliku with her ohana. She is the founder and executive director of Huliauapaʻa and also has created and runs Noho Papa Hawaii, a cultural resource management social enterprise. Kekuewa Kikiloi was born and raised in Heia, Oahu. He currently is an associate professor at the University of Hawaii at Manoa and serves as the director for Kamakakuokalani Center for Hawaiian Studies. His focus on teaching and research is in the Hawaiian Studies concentration of mālama ʻāina, which is native land and resource management. He's a board member of the nonprofit Huliauapaʻa and has been an advocate and leader in the movement for cultural revitalization, community empowerment, and the protection of Wahi Kupuna, or ancestral places across our ʻāina. We also have Lilia Marin. She was born and raised in Wailua, Puna, Kauai, and currently resides in Kilauea. She has an AA in Liberal Arts from Kapi'olani Community College, a BA in Hawaiian Studies with a minor in Hawaiian language. And in 2019, she received her master's in Hawaiian Studies with a focus on mālama ʻāina, cultural resource management, from the University of Hawaii at Manoa. Since her participation in the 2014 Mālama ʻāina Field School, she's assisted with the Wahi Kupuna Internship Program and has worked as a field assistant on Nihua and Moku Manamana of the Papahanaumokuākea National Monument. She now works at Noho Papa Hawaii as a cultural research specialist, as well as a WKIP instructor and communications officer for Huliauapaʻa. Mahalo nui ʻaʻoko. Please enjoy this presentation.
Hi, aloha nui kākou. Mahalo Kamehameha Schools and the Kealapono Division for organizing and offering this wonderful conference. You know, it's so important to continue to gather together as a lahui, as a community, and share positive stories of what we're all doing in this time. I can't see who's on here, so just aloha to everybody out there that's calling in. Today we're going to be sharing a little bit about our nonprofit organization, Huliauapaʻa, in particular, one of our programs, the Wahi Kupuna Internship Program. So I'll start us off and I'll talk a little bit about the history of our organization, kind of the foundation of our program, and then I'll send it over to Lilia, who will actually showcase deliverables and community products that we created from our last 2020 Wahi Kupuna Internship Program, as well as some of the interns projects. And then Kekuewa Kikiloi will close it out, just kind of talking about some of the overall values and themes that we hold to with running our program and some of the outcomes that stem from the work we do. So to begin, you know, the whole reason why we got into this field, why we created Huliauapaʻa, why we took on this kuleana to mālama our Wahi Kupuna, is because there are so many contentious issues in the realm of archaeology, anthropology, cultural resource management. It's a heavy colonized field, and for many, many years, there has been very few Kanaka that have been in this realm. And so for a variety of reasons, but the number one issue that we saw when Kikuava and others like Kathy Kabelu and Shauna Maile were going to school to get our degrees was that, you know, Native Hawaiians were definitely underrepresented in this field. And some of the reasons is just because the history of conflict. I mean, you can open a newspaper on any given day and there's all of these issues of the Hawaiian community fighting against developers and archaeologists. There's been, and there still is, a lack of culturally sensitive approaches and methods in cultural resource management. There's been a lack of mentorship and training opportunities to like actually get our youth and Kanaka in this field. And then a lot of our youth don't realize that this is a industry, or this is a field that provides jobs that we can make a difference in. And so with that, with all of these these number of problems that we've witnessed firsthand in cultural resource management, we understood that the issues are very complex. And sorry, Lelia, next slide. And that there was many layers to these longstanding issues, but really at the core was that Native Hawaiians did not have a role in determining the fate of our own resources. We were not given that space to carry on and almo this kuleana. And so we knew we needed to change the system and to hulihia this system and take a more proactive approach and guide cultural resource management into a new direction of innovation and change. And we really believe that if we built a critical mass of kamaʻāina and Kanaka in this field, we could really force change in the way cultural resource management is conducted, thus having a real positive impact on the health of our cultural resources, leading to our healthier communities. And so in 2010, we developed Huliauapaʻa, really as a way to first and foremost provide training programs and internships to college students, specifically Native Hawaiians and kamaʻāinas, to get their degrees in the fields of anthropology, archaeology, Hawaiian studies, and other related fields to become leaders and advocates and change makers in cultural resource management. And we really envisioned our nonprofit organization, Huliauapaa, as a way that we could bring in more Hawaiian perspectives and practices into the work we do, and also give more Hawaiians and kamaʻāina a role in caring for our own cultural resources. So Huliauapaa has grown since 2010. Like I said, we started off really focusing on Haumāna and trying to build that critical mass that could get into the workforce and change the field from within. And from there, we've developed a lot of other programs. And so we focus on our Haumāna through our Wahi Kupuna internship program, as well as our newly established AmeriCorps partnership, where we can provide the Haumāna that have come through our program additional professional development opportunities, where we partner them with other hui and kiaʻi all throughout the ʻāina that actually mālama their own Wahi Kupuna. And so that's another opportunity for Haumāna to get more hands-on training on actually becoming more skilled to be leaders in their communities. We also have been fortunate to work very closely with our communities. Over the past couple years, we've done workshops with the Office of Hawaiian Affairs and with KUA, specifically focusing on communities' needs and helping to provide training and resources on cultural resource management and Wahi Kupuna stewardship training modules with a variety of communities. And then lastly, we are trying to uplift and bring together all of the professional organizations that mālama Wahi Kupuna. And so we've created a couple years back this collective called the Huliauapaʻa Collective, where it's just a space where we can come together, create a collective agenda of how we want to move forward with Wahi Kupuna stewardship and be able to support different people in different sectors that care for our Wahi Kupuna. So we really have this four-prong approach now with Huliauapaʻa. But today, we're going to share a little bit more specifically about our Wahi Kupuna internship program, as it relates directly to the theme of the Hawaiian culture-based education movement here that Kamehameha Schools has created this conference around. And so the goal of this program is really to train our Hawaiians and our kamaʻāina youth in both the, sorry, phone call coming in both the cultural and technical sides of Wahi Kupuna stewardship. So they have this strong cultural foundation to honor and alamo their kuleana, to our ʻāina, to our kaya ulu, and have to become and have the appropriate skills to become leaders and change makers in the culture resource management field. We've really focused, on trying to create an integrated program. We started off really focusing on archaeology and heavily on that discipline, but over the years we've just become more integrated in our approach. Of course, working with the Hawaiian Studies Department at Manoa, as well as just planners and all the different people that have kuleana to mālama or Wahi Kupuna. And so we try to root everything in a Hawaiian perspective on how we approach being on the ʻāina, to how we work with our communities, and how we collect, interpret, and disseminate the ʻike and the information that we gathered through our programs. And so we bring together these different knowledge sources and approaches in a way that's much more holistic than just doing archaeology. So it's really, this program has been from the beginning such a kākou effort, which is pretty unreal how much people have come together to support this mission and this vision of the Wahi Kupuna internship program. It's run by our nonprofit and our social enterprise, Noho Papa Hawaii. It's been funded for the past 11 years by Kamehameha Schools. And it's supported, we have partnerships with a number of universities and colleges throughout the state. So our Haumāna can get credits for the work they do through our program. We work with Kupu to provide education awards. And then we also, of course, collaborate very closely with the communities and kia'is that we work in. So it's just a really unique partnership that brings together landowners, nonprofits, private sector firms, educational institutions, community groups, and Haumāna, all to come together to really achieve this goal of supporting our youth and our communities to better mālama, the wahipana that we care about. So over the past 11 years, we've pretty much been throughout the Pai'aina, from Hawaii Island to Kauai. And we are a traveling program. So we go into the Wahi and we go and work with the kaya ulu that want us there. And so that's really nice because we have created a model that we can adapt to many different places. We don't have a set ʻāina that we work at as Huliauapaʻa, but yeah, we are Pai'aina wide, which makes it very exciting. And we're very fortunate to be able to visit all of these beautiful rural places and to come in with our skill sets and be able to, teach and train our youth and our students in place-based, ʻike about those specific places that we work at. So these are our different cohorts from the past 11 years. We've also spent the most time on Hawaii Island, and I've been fortunate enough to have worked in every moku throughout Hawaii Island. And so these are the locations we've been at, from Ka'upulehu to Ka'u to Kahuvai to Hamakua. And so, yes, it's been such a wonderful honor to be able to have worked and collaborated with all of these communities and all of these special wahi. So to get a little bit deeper in what we do, our program objectives are multifaceted. The foundation, of course, is cultural development. We also, we strongly work with communities very closely to make sure we're providing ʻike and hana that is valuable and useful for them. We also do a lot of technical training in like being in the field work and research. We have academic development through our partnerships with the universities to make sure our Haumāna continue their academic journeys and actually graduate and hopefully go on to higher educational degrees. And then of course at the professional development side, where we network with a lot of other kia'i and stewards from grassroots level to the state, to federal. So just our interns can see the breadth of opportunities that they can have to make a difference in this field and to see the different career pathways that they can take. But of course, the foundation of our program is our cultural foundation. And that really is the portion that had been lacking from this realm for so long. Archaeology was really just the scientific study of the other. And because we've created a way to kind of connect it more to who we are and to instill our values and our protocols in the work we do. And I think that's one reason why so many of our interns and Haumāna really make that connection. And it's that aha moment that we can really blend and bridge kind of the two different worldviews together in one to make it something, to make it a practice more meaningful to ourselves and more beneficial to our communities. And so, we conduct cultural protocols throughout. Anytime on the ʻāina or working with communities, we definitely utilize our ʻike Kupuna in everything we do. And, we try to bridge those worldviews together. And we just try to make this very foreign kind of scientific field more culturally relevant and meaningful to us and our needs and our values. We've been, again, like I said, very fortunate to work with so many different community huis in all the places we've been to. And I think that's one reason why our program has been so impactful, is because of the pilina and the relationships that we've been able to develop and nurture with our community collaborators. And this really teaches our interns that, how to do ethically sound research, and that whenever we go to a wahi, we go to the people of that place first. And we ask them what they need and how we can kokua, and we learn from them. And then we go back and we disseminate and we share all that information back to them. And we don't share it in the form of scientific, research papers and a bunch of academic jargon, but really try to create deliverables that they can use, that they can value, that they can build on after our program leaves. And that's a little bit of what Lilia will be sharing today. So this summer, bringing us to 2020 Wahi Kūpuna internship program, we had done so much planning, to be out in Kohala. We're working with Kamaʻāina at ʻIole, had, everything set up. And of course, the pandemic hits. And so we had to shift right away. And we still wanted to run our program and just had to figure out a way how to do it safely. And so, of course, it was virtual. And it really provided us an opportunity to kind of think outside the box and be innovative and figure out how to connect our interns to Kohala without actually physically being there, and connect them to the community without physically actually being with them, together on ʻāina. And so luckily we had so much amazing community partners out in Kohala, like the wonderful Uncle Fred Kachola, who still was able to take us on his huaka'i, on Kamehameha's birth huaka'i throughout Kohala virtually. And of course, we still got to do a huaka'i to Ulumau Puanui with Auntie Kehau and all of that. And so it really, it allowed us to actually bring in more resources and topic experts and hoas and Kupuna, because it was just easier for a lot of people to jump on Zoom. And so yeah, it was a very, very interesting times, but I think we were pretty successful in being able to make that switch. And I commend our Haumāna. Our Haumāna are resilient and adaptable, and I give them so much credit for how they were able to make the most of this situation. And of course, that inspires us as kumu of how much they took away from it. And of course, we have, we have activities like ʻAʻo ako mai, and where the Haumāna become the kumu and they teach, each other something that they love to do or are passionate about. And we had to adapt all of this, but it worked. And so in the end, the biggest adjustment we made really was our Haumāna projects. And this year we really got to think creatively, and we really got to think on how to adjust what our Haumāna were researching and how they were presenting their research in the current times. And so we focused very much on some of these virtual deliverables, like websites, like story maps, and other modes of deliverables that we could share out more broadly and more widely. And so that's where Lilia is going to come in now and share a little bit about the specific deliverables that we created, and showcase some of the amazing work that our Haumāna did this summer. So I will turn it over to you, Lilia, and mahalo again.
Kelly, I'm honored to be here with you all today, and I'm excited to share the Huliauapaʻa website, which is a byproduct from our first virtual WKIP this past summer. In the website, I kind of wanted to go over two things. So the first thing I wanted to show you was some of the resources that are available within this site. And the second thing I wanted to showcase was just two of our Haumāna projects that they did this past summer. So a little background about this website, and the reason I call it a byproduct. One of the challenges and changes in the program this past summer, as Kelly mentioned, was trying to figure out a way to create a space or a virtual classroom, a classroom setting to fit our program's needs. And so in order for us to house our materials and resources and course content, we went ahead and developed an interactive website for our students this past summer. And just as a side note, we, just based off of some of our post-survey responses from our Haumāna, we learned that this interactive website, along with Slack and Zoom, were among the 3 top platforms that were the most beneficial for our Haumāna's program success in the program. So one of the things that our Haumāna also shared was that they really wanted to continue to be able to access this website post-program. And so as kind of like a final deliverable, instead of just doing, as Kelly mentioned, a whole long report, we revamped the original Wahi Kupuna internship website, and we built that we originally built for our Haumāna to be more of a community resources website that's geared towards providing ʻāina and cultural resource information to the community of Kohala and all of those that are interested in learning more about Kohala, which I'm going to share some of the resources with you here in a second. But this website also includes our Haumāna final projects and papers. So at the top, you have your navigational bar. And right now we're on the home page. And then this kind of just gives you the purpose of the website. But I also wanted to show you some cool features. So right here is an interactive map showing you the different ahupua'a of Kohala. You can also search at the top for a place theme. Put one in, take you there to that place. And then you can also change the background as well to like something like imagery instead. There's also some quick links in here to help you jump around pretty quickly on the home page. And below that is the logo and the name that our Haumāna came up with for their cohort this past summer. And then if you want to learn more about our organization, Huliauapaʻa, that's the yellow down here. We also have this really cool search bar feature on every single page. So if there's something that you're specifically looking for, it searches only within this website, so you can jump to things a little bit faster. Moving to our community resources. Our community resources tab, you'll find different videos, readings, Hawaiian language newspaper, maps, mahele documents related to Kohala. A lot of these resources were provided for our Haumāna during the program. And then as we were revamping it, we went ahead and added a few more resources when we converted the site. So let's go into a couple of tabs. The first one I wanted to share with you was the videos. So on here, you can rewatch the WKIP Ho'ike, where our Haumāna presented their original research projects to the community, has a little description about their projects. This is the video. There's also start time. So if there's a particular project that you want to jump to or one of the haumāna that you want to see, we provided the start times here, so you can go straight there. And then there's also some extra supplemental videos on here that we shared, and some of these come directly from our Haumāna lessons, and then we were given permission from the guest speakers to share. The next thing I wanted to share with you was some of the map resources. And so on here, you'll find different kinds of maps, Kohala historic maps, triangulation maps. There are TMK maps. There are also some modern maps. And when you click on the image, it'll open the map up in a separate tab where you can then go in and zoom in and do what you want. Next, I wanted to show you some of the readings. So I'll go there. And so in the readings, you'll find some reports, some journal publications. We also have dissertations, some theses, school projects, and other reading resources. Again, these were some of the resources or the reading resources we provided for our Haumāna this past summer, and that became very useful for some of their projects. And same thing as the maps, when you click on any one of these, it'll open right up in a separate tab. And lastly, in the community resources area, I wanted to show you web links. So these are some of the research databases our Haumāna used throughout the program to conduct their original research projects. So you can click on any one of these and it'll take you to that site. Okay, so let's go to our student projects. As Kelly mentioned, we had 7 awesome Haumāna this past summer who are absolutely flexible and resilient in this changing process and in this program. While we were still able to cover all of the regular WKIP curriculum topics, given our virtual setting for 2020, more emphasis was placed on ethnohistorical research and community ethnography. And the advantage of an online Aina-based program meant that our Haumāna had a very wide expanse to research within Koala rather than just being confined to one space, which you'll see here in some of their projects. But unlike some of the previous WKIP before for final projects, we provided a little bit more hands-on website building and design training using platforms such as ArcGIS and ArcGIS Story Maps and Wix. So in the short 4-week program, 5 out of the 7 Haumāna built websites, not only to display their project, but as a way to share out this really valuable ʻike. And you're going to see this here in a second. So as I said, I was going to show you 2. This is one that I wanted to show you. It was done by Makaila Pasco. She's a kamaʻāina born and raised in Kohala. She's currently at Hilo majoring in psychology. Okay, I'm gonna open it up for you so you can see it just a little bit better. And this is her project. And so for her project, she wanted to honor Anakala Fred Kachola. And if you know Uncle Fred, as Kelly mentioned, he's like Mr. Kohala. He and his ohana have been researching Kohala for a very long time. His ʻike expands out to the rest of the ʻāina as well. And but he tells this really famous moʻolelo of Kamehameha's birth story. And when he came on to Zoom to share this story and to share this moʻolelo to the Haumāna this past summer, Makaila was totally captured by this moʻolelo and she wanted it to live on forever. So for her, Kohala is her home and she wanted others to be aware of this history. And ultimately, in her words, this project was a makana or a gift to Uncle Fred. So in the birth story, there are 9 inoa ʻāina that focuses or references Naiole's journey taking Kamehameha to safety. And per Uncle Fred, these place names were named from this story. So Makaila built this story map to show Naiole's run based off of Uncle Fred's original map. And when you click onto each of the place names, there's a translation of the place name. And then she also talks about how it relates to the story. So let me go ahead and show you. So Koko ʻike is one of them. She has the translation here, and then how it relates to the story. And she also includes really pretty pictures. And so I'm just going to click through all of them so you can see kind of how it functions. And so this, her project was done through ArcGIS's story maps. So this story map is embedded into the Huliauapaʻa website. You can also view it in the separate tab like I just had. You can either click on this little arrow at the bottom or this button right here. And then also there's a lot more to her project. And so if you want to read a little bit more about it, you can click right here and I'll take you to her entire paper. The next project that I wanted to show you was done by Hoʻoipo Bertelman from Waimea. And with Hoʻoipo, she grew up admiring the pu'u of Waimea and was really interested in the mo'olelo around those places. And so for her project, she did hers on pu'uhoku'ula in the ahupua of Lalamilo in Kohala. And I think today she said that they call this place Buster Brown. So for her, she really wanted to focus on mo'olelo surrounding this area of pu'uhoku'ula because she shared that a lot of people admire this place for its beauty, but there wasn't really like a whole lot of recorded stories or information that were easily accessible, telling people how to properly interact in this area, and that she wanted to continue the tradition of remembering not just these places and place names and stories, but to interact with Wahi Kupuna of Waimea. And so the purpose of this website was really to educate those not familiar to Wahi Kupuna at Pu'uhoku'ula. And she did this by interviewing 8 kamaʻāina of Waimea. And a lot of these people that she interviewed were also her ohana. And they've also spent a lot of time on the Aina. So after she did these interviews, she transcribed them, which is a lot of transcribing. And then she sent them back for approval. And then these were some of the little snippets that she pulled out from her analysis of, and from her perspective of why Pu'uhoku'ula is so special. And so she learned about the effects of weather. So for instance, the Pu'u was a wind protection zone. She learned about the Pu'u as a landmark and the hana mahiai that took place there. She shared the tradition of lawaiʻa manu and ranching at Pu'uhoku'ula. But ultimately, this ʻike changes your perspective of place, and in retelling these mo'olelo in the form of a website, this process of recovery and remembering Pu'uhoku'ula's purpose, function, history over time helps to build this deeper connection in pilina to place. So same thing, her project can be accessed on the Huliauapaʻa website. There are 5 more wonderful projects on this site that I encourage anyone wanting to learn more about Kohala to check out. Currently, these projects are also being individually featured each month in a running column of the Kohala Mountain News. But many of the Haumāna shared that they're continuing to work with the Kohala community members, and they're still continuing to add information they found to these projects that they started with in this Wahi Kūpuna internship program. And we know that online learning can be difficult for many, but our Haumāna were still able to develop meaningful research topics that they were very passionate about, and that were able to benefit the Kohala and for Kohala and its community. If you want to read about what some of our Haumāna shared about our program, about how their perspectives of cultural resource management has changed from when they entered into the program. We also shared about some of the skills they obtained in that short 4 weeks with us and some of the fun activities that they did. And so if you want to view this webpage or these projects or the resources, you can go to www.huliauapaʻa.weebly.com. I'll drop it in the chat. But we also love feedback. If you guys have anything you'd like to share, please feel free to email us or drop us a line on the contact page. And with that, I just want to say mahalo again for your time. And with that, I'll pass it off to Kealapono.
Well, the program, it's relatively small, yeah, because cultural resource management and archaeology in Hawaii is a relatively small field and industry. But if you can imagine, me and Kelly were some of the few people going through these programs, in the late 90s, early 2000s. And there was just really a handful of us as Native Hawaiians that were in these programs. And we didn't really have a lot of good mentors. And then now looking at our program in trying to, increase and boost these numbers up through the WKIP. We've had, over 60 students from all the main islands. 100% are Native Hawaiian or local kamaʻāina. And there's been a lot of success in them continuing on in their sort of studies, right? With currently 20 pursuing associate degrees or bachelor degrees, 25 graduated with associate degrees or bachelor degrees, and 18 receiving MA or are in MA programs right now, and with I think 1 or 2 in PhD programs right now. And so for a relatively small field and industry locally, that's a dramatic transformation. I think we calculated it was like, I don't know, like 400 or 500% increase of just people of our people going through these programs. Next slide. And so you can see sort of like the demographic sort of ethnic sort of shift, with the old picture kind of representing the old guard of archaeologists in Hawaii from the 80s, and the colored pictures representing some of our students in our programs today. A lot of people from our communities are represented in these new sort of cohorts. And I think the main thing that I want to emphasize here is that we are slowly changing through this program and recruiting students through this educational pathway. We're changing the outlook of the industry of cultural resource management in Hawaii. Yeah? And so no longer is it just outsiders who are coming in, going to school here, or people that are not from Hawaii that are dominating sort of the field, but now we actually have Native Hawaiians and local kamaʻāina that are starting to become professionals in this field. And so this, we are hoping, is starting to have like long-term impacts to the way this kind of work is done in Hawaii. So if you can imagine things like Mauna Kea that we're all obviously like rally around and are upset about, that's an outcome of an industry that has sort of failed the Native Hawaiian community over the past multiple decades. And so a lot of what we're doing is trying to fix those things, and it's a long-term problem, and it starts with getting the right people in these career pathways. Next slide. Another thing we're doing is we're starting to sort of change the perspective, right? I think one of the things that has been kind of hindering archaeology and cultural resource management is sort of like some of the assumptions built into this sort of colonial field, right? And in archaeology, there is sort of this notion that they study people of the past and almost implying as if those people are dead or gone already. And I think some of this has carried over into Hawaii, where they think that like they're working with materials of people that no longer are connected to them or don't have any kind of continuity with them. And I think by us diversifying the field, getting Native Hawaiians, getting local kamaʻāina in it, they're starting to realize that, wait, there are people that have connections to these things. It is a living culture, right? That still continues today. People are still honoring their ancestors, doing prayers, giving offerings. And so this is starting to sort of, I think, change the behavior of our field in really positive ways, and starting to, I think, make aha moments in a lot of people that maybe aren't from here in these fields, starting to realize that, look, we need to be working with the indigenous communities on these projects, and that the value of Wahi Kupuna or ancestral places is linked to the well-being of indigenous communities, people and places. I can't emphasize this impact enough, that our program runs in synergy with the community. And so what we're doing is that we're riding the Aloha Aina movement with the rest of our lahui, where we have incredible leaders emerging in different communities all over our archipelago. And we feel like it's our job to help support them and to be a catalyst for their efforts. And so when we come in with our training program is providing really viable and impactful sort of resources to these communities, like the websites, centralized repositories where they can use for their educational efforts. We're giving research to them. We're giving different types of advice on particular sites, on restoration and things of that sort. And so the kind of research that we're advocating for at the university level is not research for the sake of research sake, which has historically been the case for outside researchers who just come in and have, I would say, almost selfish motives to sort of just get their research done. But in fact, what we do is that we want to work collaboratively with the community to understand what their needs are, and so that we can mutually benefit from this kind of partnership. Next slide. And finally, Uapaʻa no ke kahua, indeed the foundation is firm. And what we see here is a picture, and we always end with this slide in our presentations, of 1890 at a site, a very important site called Ahuaʻumi in the central plateau of Hawaii Island. The cairns of Umi that was built by the great Umi Aliloa, maybe in the 1600s, that represented his unification of Hawaii Island. And in 1890, when surveyors went up there, they were guided by Native Hawaiians who helped archaeological researchers to document this place. And then fast forward to 2010, the picture over here, that was the year of our first Wahi Kupuna internship program through the Kamehameha schools. And what you can see is our interns and our students taking the places over there to show that we are now becoming the archaeologists, the people that are actually doing the documenting, and we are still here. We still survive today. And so I think that was a really pivotal moment in our organization when we went up there and we realized that this was not just sort of an experimental idea that we were going to kind of try out, that we were indeed firm in our foundational commitment to move forward, to shift the needle in cultural resources by whatever means necessary, whether it be through our field schools or through collective community organizing, to education and workshops, and through providing different types of support, that we are going to continue to do this moving forward. And so with that, we just like to end with, indeed, the foundation is firm for our program. So I'll hand it over to Kelly if you have any last things you want to add.
We just wanted, again, to mahalo the organizers for inviting us to share at this conference. We love to share about the work we do and are always open to developing more relationships and collaborations with other community organizations. Again, we are a traveling program. So if the need is out there, please feel free to contact us. And I think we have some time for Q&A. Is that right, Luana, or are we getting close to the end here?
No, we do have some time. I'm going to turn it over to Apelila. I think we had a couple questions earlier on.
Yeah, there was one question, is this available for the community and how can they get involved in the program?
Yeah, so we partner with Kamehameha schools, and so we typically focus on legacy lands with Kamehameha schools, and so that's where most of our programs have been held over the years, but we've been able to actually expand now to doing Wahi Kupuna community workshops, and that is allowing us to go and work directly with communities and with whatever their needs might be, and we're going to be doing some of these workshops over the next few months, one at Kahoma, Maui, one with Ka'upulehu on Hawaii Island, and then another with Waipa, Kauai. So if there is community hui that would value and benefit from some Wahi Kupuna stewardship training or resources, we're definitely get in touch with us so we can see where we might be able to kupua.
If you do have another Nino, feel free to put it in the chat. We have a couple more minutes. And I see Lilia's also putting in the website in there for you folks to check it out. And I just wanted to say mahalo for that. For me, those like looking at maps and going on the website, it's almost like a rabbit hole that I get stuck in. So I gotta remind myself like, okay, back to the real world. Oh, I see somebody's asking for resources. I'm from Kauai seeking ʻike about Kaunuo Kane Heiau. Oh, and also another question, is there an internship for 2021?
Did you want to share anything about the resources?
Yeah, on the Huliauapaʻa website, there's kind of a compilation of databases on there if you go to web links. And you can, if you're looking for things for Kauai or Kaunuo Kane Heiau, you can start populating maybe that name. That might be one place to start. Or you're welcome to email me as well. I can drop my email in the chat and I can try to help you as well. And then for WKIP 2021, I'm going to pass that to Kelly.
Yes, we just usually it takes a little bit of meeting and discussing and planning with Kumeʻa schools, with different community organizations, and then we settle on the location in the beginning of the calendar year for our summer program. And this year we just decided on Koholalele in Hamakua, Hikina. So we're gonna actually go back and work with Huimo. We were with them in 2015. And we really helped kind of start off their nonprofit and develop a lot of their core resources for their Aina and for their culture resources. And now they are just, you know, they've just grown so much and have a lot more kuleana. And so what's going to be interesting about this year is we're going to be doing more professional development with some of their existing staff. And so training them a little bit deeper in ethnohistorical research and ethnography, and of course doing Aina-based field methods on their Aina that they mālama. And so yeah, we will put that out there soon on social media and our website, a little bit more specifics about this summer, but really excited to be going back out there and partnering again with Huimo.
And just one more quick question. How old do Haumāna have to be for the internship?
So we've targeted college Haumāna, and so we did try a couple times with high school Haumāna, but we found that really the sweet spot is kind of just the first couple years of college where they're just beginning their academic journey, and they get this opportunity to experience this hands-on type of internship and training, and that really helps them kind of become more pa'a in their path of what they want to do. And again, like I said, we started off really focusing on Haumāna in the fields of archaeology and anthropology, but now we've really opened it up to Haumāna just in so many different fields that want to do something to mālama, our natural cultural marine resources. So we're open to Haumāna coming from any one of those related fields. But yeah, we focus on target college Haumāna.
Okay, mahalo nui loa. Just wanted to send another mahalo to Kelly, Lilia, and whoever. We truly appreciate you sharing all your ʻike and all your efforts to educate these Haumāna and connecting communities back to their Wahi Kupuna, which is such important work. Mahalo to our audience as well. Feel free to turn on your camera. You can give our presenters a little wave. A little round of applause of mahalo. And please enjoy yourself at the next session. Mahalo nui.